first time ever, December 12th, the game in there. What's the message to the fans, and what do you guys need from them? Because this is kind of, the CFP is going to do what they're going to do, but what's your message to the fans?
Well, I'm excited for our players, but I'm excited for our fans to get back together this Saturday in the shoe for an historic event like we talked about last time. This is a, right now the first time it's ever happened before, and I think for everyone to get back together is exciting. And I know our players are that way. We had our senior tackle yesterday, and to listen to these guys get up there and talk about how much they love this university, they love their teammates, they love this program, and then to spend some time with the parents and talk to them about their sons and the work and the sacrifice they've made. And it was a great day to spend time with our seniors and what they put in. And so for them to get an opportunity to play at home in something like this is great. And but it just is exciting for our fans. And just like our players, the fans are invested in this in a big way. And so it's going to be an exciting day, or exciting night. 8:00 kickoff. And this week of work for us is going to just continue to build to Saturday.
Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Ryan, you've remarked a couple of times that you made a decision at some point in the offseason to huddle, play a little bit more deliberately, I guess, than maybe you guys have in the past. Why was that ultimately the path you guys wanted to take? And with 12 games of data now, do you feel like you got what you wanted out of that?
Yeah, from the beginning of the season, the idea was that this is a new era. This is a new season for us. Obviously with the number of games that we've been in, and also with the addition of coach-to-player communication. There's just, there's different things that come in schematically that way, but also the number of plays came down. I think the other thing, too, about the huddle, which was significant this year for us, was just getting everybody together and having Will be in the huddle and look everybody in the eye, talk to him about the down and distance, talk to him about what happened on the last play, and bring everybody together, the offensive line talking together, the receivers. And that's important. It really is. It's kind of something we've almost lost when you're in a no huddle situation. You can find yourself almost on your own. And having Seth in the huddle at times this year was great. And so that's been a big part of it. Mixing in the no huddle part of it as a change of pace certainly does change the tempo and can be an advantage. And so we'll certainly make sure that's part of our plan as we head into the playoffs. It has been this year as well. We've used both of them. But I think with the change of pace in terms of the clock stopping after first downs really only happening inside of 2 minutes now, the games go faster, and so it's a lot more focus on efficiency. And we're going to play against a team that's going to play fast here on Saturday night. So we know what we need to do defensively in terms of getting lined up, and they're going to challenge us. And they're a very good team. I give Tennessee a lot of credit. They're well coached and they have a great attack. And so, we have to do a great job of getting lined up in those situations. But I think for us, we found a good rhythm with that. I think it's allowed us to be more efficient. But there's also times when we need to speed it up to put more stress on the defense.
Guys, we're going to need to stick to just one and done questions just because we're on a little bit of a time schedule with all the other players and coordinator coming. Let's go with Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, with the portal now going on, how difficult is it to put a roster together while also preparing for a playoff? And how much of your daily hours are put into the portal right now, keeping your team together and bringing in new players?
Well, the number one focus is Tennessee right now. But as you know, you can't just live in a vacuum, and we have to plan for the future. And the fact that these players having to make a decision right now, knowing that the playoffs haven't even started yet, is very difficult on them. It's difficult on us. That's just the way it is. You're asking kids to make decisions on their future, yet they still want to be with their team and play in the playoffs. And their teammates who are seniors are relying on them to still be part of the team. So, all challenges for us, but I think we're handling it well. I think that we have a group of guys that want to be together and understand what's ahead of us. For the staff, we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we're retaining the players and providing them what they need, and then also making sure that if there are some things in the portal that we need to fill holes with, we'll do that. And there's some good players out there But the number one focus right now is beating Tennessee.
Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, what's the plan on the offensive line? You alluded, when we talked to you 2 weeks ago, there might be some changes there. Any changes forthcoming?
Luke Montgomery's got some reps at guard, and so you're probably going to see him at guard some this game. We'll see how this week goes, but Austin will be rotating in there as well with Tegra. So that'll be the plan now. We still have a whole week of preparation, and things can change, as of tomorrow, when we get on the field. But the plan right now would be to rotate those guys.
Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
Yeah, with Devin announcing that he's going to enter the portal, is he still your backup quarterback for this game? Is Julian pushed for that job at all?
Julian's getting a lot of reps in there, but Devin right now is the backup quarterback, but Julian's right there, and he needs to continue to push in that area, and you just never know how this thing's all going to shake out. There's a lot of football ahead of us, and so we'll need all those guys. And I give Devin credit; he wants to finish this thing out the right way, but he also wants to see what other options are available for his future. And I think it's not an easy thing for him to do, but I give him credit for wanting to finish this thing out the right way.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Yeah, with Luke, what did you guys see in him that maybe you didn't see after the Simmons injury and then after Seth's injury that made you guys think, like, okay, he can go play in a college playoff game?
Well, I think after the Penn State game, we got a lot of confidence coming out of that game with Carson playing guard. He really stepped in and did some great things. You don't always know what you're going to get until you get into those game scenarios, as you know. And then when Seth went down, we went back to Austin because he gave us the most experience, at least coming in from from the first few games when Donovan went down. And Luke was still coming on. He was getting better, but we just felt at the time that was the right move. And, there was some good plays and some not so good plays coming out of the Indiana game. And then after assessing the last game, we feel like, Luke deserves an opportunity. And I don't know if it's, that he's done that much more than maybe he's done in the past, but he was close anyways. And so now it's about time to give him an opportunity.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Just following up on that, let's use the word experience. You used that when you chose Carson against Penn State as well. Is it easier to not go with the guy who's been through it before when you've got 3 or 4 weeks to prepare for a game versus a week-by-week basis?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. The more reps you get at a concept or a play allows somebody who's in that role to adapt quicker to some of the things they may see in the game and have a better handle on the game plan.
Over to the right, Dave Holmes, WSYX.
I know the media schedule, you're doing more this week, I've noticed. I think that's CFP regulated. I'm just curious, is there anything else different about hosting a playoff game that you've noticed logistically than just a standard game at the Shoe this week?
No, I think we're staying on the same routine that we've been on. We're going to still use some of our playoff experiences to use as a reference for this game. But when you look at it, first off, it's a quick turnaround. There was a week where you're in limbo, and then on Sunday you find out you're playing Tennessee. You have 1 week, and now you're in the game week. And so what we try to do is continue to stay on the game week routine. I think that's the way to go. When you play in a bowl and you have a lot more time off, then it's different. You get some of the young guys work. Some of the older guys, spend a couple weeks, resting, working on Indy, but not getting as many reps. This, we pretty much stayed on a game routine, and we did that last week. We had our Sunday. Today's our off day, and Tuesday will be a normal Tuesday for us. So, it's been pretty much like a game week for us, and we're going to keep it that way.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Just to quickly clarify on Luke, has he been repping at left and right, and that rotation would include repping both of those guys?
He's been mostly getting reps at left, but he will have an opportunity to get reps at right as well.
And the guys who went in the portal last week, other than Devin, Gabe, and some of those guys, what is their status as far as being on the roster for the playoff?
Yep, so Gabe will not be on the roster, and then who else?
Kojo and Jaden. And
Koj will be, Jaden will not be. Yep.
Adam King, WBNS.
I know that you'd never just want to force feed wide receivers. You want the offense to develop and do what it can. But when you see the target share that maybe guys like Emeka and Jeremiah have taken a little bit of a decline there at the end of the year, how do you go about balancing getting them the ball but making sure you're not forcing it?
Yeah, I think, you got to learn coming out of the season on, what where you've been. I think that the team that we started with at the beginning of the season, where we were in the middle of the season and where we are now are all three different areas for different reasons. And the bottom line is when you look at where we are right now, we've got to make sure that we're maximizing our strengths and minimizing our weaknesses or deficiencies. And that we all have to take accountability to do our job. Like those are the areas that, we got to focus on. Now, what does that mean schematically? I don't really want to get into that, but that's the bottom line. And, we are in a different place when you think about where our offense was at the beginning of the year, the middle of the season, and now it's different. Same thing with our defense. What we thought going into the season, mid-season, and now you can see that we've changed. Now, it hasn't been drastic, but enough. And I think that's the most important thing. So, yeah, we got to make sure that we're getting our best players the ball. But that's what when I'm talking about, maximizing our strengths. We got to be able to do that, and that's very important in this game.
Austin Ward, podcast.
Ryan, did you all feel like Will was limited at all in the second half against Michigan? And I don't know how specific you would get into that, but how has he responded since then?
He's doing great. He's had a good couple weeks of practice. He's ready to go. I know he wants to, just like all of us, move on and focus on Tennessee. There's certainly plays that he'll want to have back in that game. But one thing about Will is, he's got a very positive mindset, and he's very resilient. And you can see he's got a bounce in his step right now. He wants to get back on the field as fast as he possibly can. You can see that. And, he wants to lead this offense. And it's going to be a very important part of this game on Saturday night is his leadership. And he'll be ready to go.
Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, I know 2022 is a little different. Obviously, you were a play caller. Obviously, you lost that game in Georgia, but it seemed like that game, after losing to Michigan, you guys played a little more free, a little more loose. What can you take away from the lead up to that game and apply with this group from the lead off from Michigan loss to now?
Yeah, I think there was guys who were part of that game on the team and part of being in the playoffs, so they know what it's like to play in the playoffs, which is great. There's a bunch of guys in the room that don't. I think for us to recognize that, once you get into the playoffs, it's a brand new start. And I think that's what our guys have recognized now. The fact that, they've earned the opportunity to play in the playoffs. That's it. We have 2 top 5 victories, and we have 10 wins. And there's a lot of teams across the country that aren't in the playoffs. So the bottom line is, we are in the playoffs. And, every team is going to have their issues and deficiencies, and the teams that can address those the best are going to win this thing. And that's it. It's a new era. It's a different time. And I think our guys recognize that. And I think, the guys, especially who played in that game, also realize that, no matter how the season ends, that game is coming, and you got to learn from it and grow from it and go from there. And sometimes you can be really, really close to something and not realize it. And what you have to do is just keep pushing forward and keep rolling and keep going. And that's been the message to our guys.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, you talked about the tempo of Tennessee a little bit, but when you're facing a team that moves as quickly as they do, how does that impact everything you guys are doing? I imagine it affects both sides of the ball a little bit. What impact does that have on you guys?
Well, Chip was one of the first to ever do this, and I was his quarterback. So we were laughing about that the other day, and it's kind of gone full circle. And the idea of their offense, first off, they're very, very well coached, and they have a very, very good plan of what they do. And they play physical, and they run the ball up inside. But when you're going no huddle, the first thing they want you to do is they want you to not get aligned, and they want you to not communicate well. They want to stretch you horizontally. They want to stretch you vertically, get you in space. And then, obviously not run to the ball and get tired and those type of things and play undisciplined. I mean, that's the whole idea of it, and that they're going to be in better shape than you are at the end of the day. So, we know what that style is. We know what the philosophy is, but it doesn't make it easy. It's like playing an option team. You don't really understand it till you're playing against it. So we've had a couple weeks to prepare for this. I think the preparation's been good. I think Jim's plan is excellent going in. And I think that our scout teams have done a good job. We've been doing some good-on-good work to try to press our guys and make sure they understand how stressful it is to play against this style. But ultimately, it's still going to come down to taking on blocks, defeating blocks, and tackling in space.
Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
On Selection Sunday, you talked about wanting your team to play free and without fear of consequence, and I'm guessing as a head coach that falls largely on you to facilitate that. How have you been different? Obviously, your team didn't play. There was nothing free and easy about them in that Michigan game. How have you facilitated that? How have you changed your approach to this game compared to that?
Again, like the fans, like the university, like our players, the coaches, myself, we are all invested in this thing in a big, big way. And, I wish some of you guys could have, seen our senior tackle yesterday just to see how much these players care, how much these coaches care. And, as the season goes on, you continue to build and grow, and you just build this brotherhood together, and you're invested in each other. And so, when you win a game, it's thrilling. When you lose a game, it can be heartbreaking. And we understand that, and we're not going to apologize for that because we care a lot, and we know what it means to Ohio State to win football games around here. We understand what that game means. But ultimately, that's behind us, and you learn from it, and then you move on, and that's it, because it doesn't do us any good moving backwards. So that's it. The focus is on Tennessee. You grow, you build, and I think this team is prepared to go play in this playoffs. I don't know the other teams. There's great teams out there, but I know this team, and I know what they're made of, and they're resilient, and they're tough, and they're mature. And again, they care a lot about Ohio State. They care about this team, this university, just like the coaching staff and myself. And we're going to play our tails off on Saturday night.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Ryan, along those lines, you're dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids. That's got to be one of the challenges of coaching is keeping them up and buoyant, although you said they're very mature. Is it almost good that you have some distance between a really tough loss and this game, that you kind of recover, I guess?
Well, when you it's like 1 week, okay, that's one thing, a month, there's another challenge with that. 3 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. It allowed us the week to sort through, the issues and get them addressed, take accountability, because that's the big part of that. Nothing matters if the problems aren't fixed, and then we don't make adjustments. That's what it comes down to. And then the recognition that, okay, we're in the playoffs now. That game's behind us. The game is never going to change. It's never going to change here at Ohio State. However, the playoffs have. The expanded playoffs have. The format has. This is very different than it's been in the past. So, all right, we're in this thing. And now we got 2 weeks to prepare. So I think that part's been good, and that's kind of been the layout.
Jake Trotter, ESPN.
Yeah, Ryan, off what you just said, with the veteran group you have, how challenging has it been to get this team ready to go for the playoff after such an emotionally tough loss, with the pressure, if it's even possible, even more amplified now?
Well, I think as a group, everybody leaned on each other and pushed each other. And I think when you look at the guys in this program, you see great guys. You see first off, you see great players, but you see great men, mature men. We have 29 seniors the other day who spoke at senior tackle, and I just couldn't be any prouder of the type of guys that these men are. And they understand. They understand what's at stake. They understand when they come here the high expectations of what's expected, but they also know what's in front of them. And like anything else, once you identify it and you move on, that's life. And there's going to be ups and downs. And several of our seniors talked yesterday at the senior tackle about the ebbs and flows of life. And when things are really good, you got to enjoy them. When things aren't, you got to hang on and continue to get them fixed. And then eventually you're going to get them back on track. And that is life. And life is a fight. So, when you have a mature group like this, Is it easy? No, it's not easy, but it certainly helps to have a great group. And we had a really good week of practice last week with great energy, and we're going to have another great week this week.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
We're going to talk to Chip after we talk to you. What kind of discussions did you have with him about the game plan against Michigan and how you learn from that and move forward? I mean, as you said, maximize what you have and mask your deficiencies. We all know what those are. What kind of conversation did you have with Chip, and how much kind of soul searching do you think he has done about that game?
Well, I think there's two things. I think one, again, we have to maximize our personnel. We've talked about that. I think the second thing is, in some of these games, moving forward, just like in this last game, I think we were only 33% or 32%. It might even been a little bit less, but it was right around 30% of our total snaps were what we call CNN, situation normal, which means first and second down in the middle of the field. There was coming out situations, there was 2-minute situations, there was third down situations, there was red zone situations. And, I don't think we did a very good job in those situations. And we talk about situations a lot. We had a turnover in coming out. We had 5 opportunities in a red zone. We only had 10 points. And I didn't think we were particularly good on third down. And so we've got to do a better job in those situations. I think that is very, very important. Now, in those situations, schematically, how do we want to attack a defense? I think that's good conversation. We are a different offense than we were 3 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and at the beginning of the season. I think we need to recognize that. But that's not just the only thing here. There was a lot that went into that game, and we got to make sure we're playing good situational football.
Pat Forty, Sports Illustrated.
Ryan, you've had a couple of really good semifinal performances in the playoffs against Clemson and even the loss to Georgia. Is there anything about the experience of getting ready for that you can channel into getting ready for this one?
I think so. I think when you're getting ready for a game like this, the preparation is critical. I think you got to do a great job identifying your strengths versus them. And like normal in these situations, you're going against an opponent that you don't typically see. It's a team from another conference that isn't something that you're used to seeing. So you don't always know, how does this team play, or what is the competition like when it's not apples to apples. So I think you have to do a great job of predicting that and making sure that you put your guys in the best position to be successful. And also making sure that you're doing enough things that and enough change-ups along the way to create, plays for your team. And so I think that's very, very important. I think it's important early in the game to have some confidence, to get some early wins to build confidence in the game. This one will be different, though, because it's at home. So, I think we've talked to our team about that part of it, and I think we have enough guys in the program that have been in this environment before, so there is a reference point.
And final question for Coach Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, we only get one, right? There's like 3. Several coaches around the country now donating, I don't know if that's the correct term, donating back some of their salaries in millions of dollars and stuff. And number one, would you be interested in that? And number two, do you see that as sort of a trend in major college football moving forward with the revenue sharing coming and all this stuff?
I mean, I've just been focused on this game right here. But I can tell you that there's always different things that everyone's trying to look at to figure out how to raise money for NIL right now. There's no question. And I know it's a daily conversation here at Ohio State to try to figure out how do we best provide those opportunities for our players. I mean, that's the bottom line, because as we talk about recruiting right now, whether it's high school players or in the portal, it's just a major part of the discussion. And everybody usually starts with, well, NIL is not the number one thing, but it quickly gets to that. That's life. And the numbers that people are talking about nowadays is very important that, we're on the cutting edge of that here at Ohio State. And, those numbers right now only seem to be going up. I know that with the revenue share, there's a plan to put a cap on this. But right now, those numbers seem to be going up. And so we're always looking to find ways to raise more money.
Yeah, I didn't mean to hit you sideways with that. Let me ask one thing. The fact that your team played in a cold weather game against Michigan and stuff, does it give you a little bit of a head start on what's coming on Saturday with temperatures in the 20s and dropping. I mean, that takes
Yeah.
a little getting used to, no matter if you live up north.
It does, yeah. And being outside last week and practicing outside and acclimating to the weather, it makes a big difference. We'll be out there today, and yeah, it's like playing in the playoffs. Talk to them about being in Kansas City or up in Lambeau or Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. I mean, that's what it's all about, is playing these types of games in December. Not that, maybe growing up they thought that this is what it would look like in college football, but here we are, and our guys are excited about it and excited about being at home, and I think they're excited about the weather too, because we've been practicing it now for a few weeks.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay.
Thanks
See you
very
guys.
much.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to bring